beautiful souls, it's Tan here today again with another video in our Pluto series, and today we're going to be talking about Pluto in the second house. So I have made a Pluto introduction video. I'll provide a link to that up above in the description box below so you can check that out to get a more holistic understanding of how I interpret Pluto and how Pluto can be transformed from our darkness to our lightness. If you have Pluto in the second house, your biggest transformation is coming from the transformation of your personal limitations. And there can be lots of personal limitations when it comes to Pluto in the second house. When you have Pluto in this house, you are very compelled, and they're very obsessed because Pluto does rule obsession. So there's a very compelling obsessive energy to be self-sufficient, to be able to make it on your own, to be able to rely on yourself. But in the shadow phases of Pluto, when you're not yet working to kind of elevate to the higher vibrations or to be enlightened from Pluto, you will be reliant still on material resources like money. And sometimes it could be other people's money or other people's resources. And there's various different resources which I'll talk about in this video. But if you're still relying on money or other resources, then you're not really self-sufficient. So there's a need to transform from this type of a false self-sufficiency to true self-sufficiency, which means relying on yourself and being self-sufficient just because you have yourself. Just because you have yourself, only yourself. So when you can transform with this Pluto placement, you will grow from a person who may have inner deep self-doubt to great deep strong self-assurance and self-confidence. The self-doubt that is being instilled within you, this can come from your family. Second house also rules our family, so there may be something plutonic about the way that you grew up. This means that there may be some secrets that are being hidden in your family. This means that there may be some manipulative behaviors going on, but it's not going to be obvious because it's Pluto. You're going to have to dig into it to figure out what that is. It could even be that you were growing up in a family that was very reliant on, material success in one way or another, so that you feel like unconsciously that you have to prove your material success to your family unconsciously by being very independent, by being very self-sufficient, by making a lot of money, and etc. So this means that the ability to have self-worth or to really know what it is that you value, the second house rules our values. That was not emphasized in a very healthy way while you were growing up. And values means what is it in your life that is really meaningful and that is really essential and necessary in your life. So when that's not being built up correctly, the first stage of this Pluto placement is of course going to make you search for your sense of self-worth by being able to make money. When you can make money, you feel worthy. When you can have, a great house, when you can have a car, when you can have a company, when you can have any other thing that's outside of yourself, you feel worthy. And you begin to value these things, whether you really do value it deeply inside or not, or whether that's just a surface, superficial value. Yes, this Pluto placement at the lower vibration of it can lead to superficiality because you're not yet in touch with the essentials or the meaningful things in your life. If you think about Pluto being in the 8th house as a house that's very deep for Pluto to be in, and also the 12th house, the second house is opposite of the 8th. So that's can lead to superficiality with this placement. So the challenge of the first stage of this Pluto placement means that you value material things, material security, can lead to a couple of journeys in your life. The first journey may involve other people, meaning that unconsciously you may use other people for their resources. This means that it can look like you are married to somebody and they have a certain amount of wealth or something that you were looking for, and so you're with them because of that. This can look like you're in a business partnership with someone because they have a certain amount of wealth or they seem stable, and that's something that you are with them for. This will lead to some kind of confrontation when that is taken away from you. You will realize that, well, first of all, when you had it, it didn't really bring emotional stability. It didn't really bump up your self-worth as you had thought, because something is still missing. You're still searching for something. And then when it's taken away from you, you begin to realize that it didn't really matter that much. And also, there can be feelings of guilt that come up if you are faced with the confrontation of having these things taken away, or knowing that you've used other people. And this particular guilt that comes up will lead to that self-doubt, as well as when you have things taken away and you realize it didn't really matter, it can lead to self-doubt. This is where the self-doubt is coming from. The second stage of this Pluto placement is when you begin to realize that material things don't matter that much, and you may then begin to value and associate your self-worth to yourself as a resource, meaning that you begin to establish yourself as like a knowledgeable person, or as a creative person, or as a talented person, as a useful, helpful person. And you feel that these are gifts that you have within yourself, and when you're using it, they make you feel worthy. So the kind of challenge with this second stage of this Pluto placement is that it may lead you to feeling a bit isolated, because you may be very obsessed, right, with identification of your skills and talents, that you kind of neglect other people's skills or talents, or you may not really be aware of how to use these particular skills and talents to make a contribution in society. And so it will still lead to self-doubt. And the third stage of this particular Pluto placement is when you begin to align your values and your self-worth with the universe, by feeling like the universe is providing you with spiritual abundance. The universe has given us spiritual resources, that we can use, and you begin to value what the universe is giving you. So the challenge with this one is that the spiritual sustenance can dry up, because true spirituality is not just about something that is outside of you, not just about the cosmos or what the universe has given you, but it is to know that you are a part of the cosmos, and therefore there is something inside of you that you can value. So therefore, when you don't do that, when you're only relying on something outside of you, like, the cosmos or the universe, which is actually a part of you, but you may not see that, that can dry up. But it can also lead to, in some cases, you simply nurturing only your own growth or your own self through these spiritual resources, rather than sharing them with others. You see what I mean? So all three of these things are your personal limitations, Pluto in the second house. They all limit you. The only way to transform these limitations, to break free from these limitations and be completely transformed, is to reassess your personal values. It is to know that you do need personal values. You cannot escape through spirituality. You cannot escape through material things, and you cannot escape through particular skills and assets that you have within you. But there is a value in being able to reassess. So meaning that if you have all your life valued something, whatever that might be, experiment. What would it be like? Because you won't know until you experiment. What would it be like if you lived your life based on something else that could be of value to you? So it's kind of like, maybe you valued gardening for a large part of your life, but you see that you see that there may be use when you begin to value the tarot, okay? And it is not to say that one of them is better or worse than the other, one of them is more valuable than the other, but it is simply with the experimentation of, let's say, tarot reading, that you begin to know which one is more meaningful for you. And there has to be something that is going to be more meaningful to you than meaningful to other people, because we're all different and we all have things that is more personal, is more valuable to us. But it's also about, let's say that at first you were valuing gardening, right? What is the deeper layer behind that? Why did you value gardening? So when you have Pluto in second house, it's going to be really useful to assess this. Maybe you value gardening because it helps you to be at peace. That's fine. Knowing that is fine. But if you value tarot card readings, what is the essence behind that? Maybe it's because it helps you to gain an insight. It gives a new perspective of seeing something that you may not be able to see without it, and that is fine. And therefore, everything can be of value. There's no need to attach yourself to any one or two particular value systems or values. When you can do this, you're going to be able to be very crystal clear about other people and what it is that they also value, because you know that there's something deeper than just what we think that we're valuing. There's something that we can do in the material world that is going to align us with our deeper values. Like gardening can align you with peace, for example, with inner peace. Maybe it's inner emotional stability. But if you can still let go of gardening, you can still have inner emotional stability and inner peace. If you can let go of tarot reading, you can still channel your mind to see things from a different perspective. So ultimately, there's value and there's value in these material things that can help build some skills or something inside of you that once that's been built, you can let go of the material things that have aided you along the way, and then really have something solid within you. That can really bring a sense of self-worth. But ultimately, you can't be attached to the material anymore. And it's really interesting because if you are, like, for example, valuing gardening, it's not really that the gardening feeds and gives you self-worth, because we also don't want to do that, but it's more about, like, there's something inside of you that is calling out for it, and then you're doing the gardening, and the gardening is aligning or it's having this magic, synchronicity with what is already calling inside of you. So I think there's a lot of beauty there when we think about it like that, and when we can see that that's really how we are operating in synchronicity with, inside of us with what's outside of us. The light or the enlightenment, the awakening of this Pluto placement through these particular transformative experiences will help you to be somebody who can be a promoter of self-reliance and self-effort in the healthiest ways. Self-effort in a sense that, think about it, if you, let's say that you were relied on gardening, and then you realize that gardening brings you emotional stability, which means you can still garden, but you don't have to garden, there's no attachment to that. But you know now how to access your emotional stability. That is the self-worth, that is the self-reliance that you can promote, and therefore you can be an example for others of how to be emotional. This is an example, emotionally stable. You can be that person who is not going to be dependent on anything outside of yourself, for example, to bring that emotional stability, because you know you have it. You can be a master when it comes to merging resources with other people, because you know exactly like how much to give and what not to give, because you can reassess what you value and what you need to keep and what you need to not give, and then the parts of you that you're giving to invest or to merge with another, you also know that it's not going to take away anything from you, and you don't have to be dependent or attached to that or protective of that Or, you know, sometimes this Pluto placement may even lead to like self-defensiveness or like testing other people to see how much other people can validate your self-worth, and so therefore you're not giving as much in a relationship, you're not giving as much in love, in pleasure activities, like in the bedroom, like pleasures in the bedroom, like not really going there all the way, not giving too much because you want to see first if that person is going to enhance your self-worth or not, and if not, then you're not giving. And so it's going to be harder to have a close, intimate relationship when you have this Pluto placement if you haven't yet transformed, because it's going to make you feel like people can take away your sense of self-worth so easily, when the truth is that when you have your self-worth, when you are stable inside, nobody can take it away from you. They can't. You can be somebody who is very solid in your own limitations and help other people to see what their limitations are and what their non-limitations are as well. So there's a lot of very, you know, rock solid, self-assuring personality that can come when you are vibrating at a higher vibration of this Pluto placement. So that's going to be my take on Pluto in the second house. If you have this placement, comment below, let us know what your experiences have been. If you'd like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't. I do astrology, birth chart readings, synastry and relationship readings. All the information is on my website, you can check that out. And yes, I will see you soon, beautiful souls. Bye!